Hello, it's Felicia. Welcome back to another video. I had a nice long weekend. It was the longest break that I had taken since my challenge, which was really crazy, but I am going to try a little mini series this week, which I'm really excited about. I've never tried something like this before, but I just, yeah, wanted to try it. So, this week's theme is all about being alive and what it feels like to be alive, how we've lost the feelings of being alive as we grow into adulthood, and how we can kind of gain it back, and sort of looking under every rock in it. So, there's a lot of I really want to talk about the responsibility of feeling alive and how there's this energy around like, oh, well, it used to feel so nice as a kid. It used to you just felt so much more free. You felt so much more playful. And really, that's just because someone else was taking responsibility, or at least should have been taking responsibility to create safety for you to be able safety and beauty and toys and like whatever you needed to feel imaginative and whimsical and playful as a kid, there was someone else taking the responsibility of providing that to you. And now, as adults, I think there's this almost lost in translation of like, you have to provide the container for yourself and you have to play in it to feel alive. I think that is where there's this lost in translation. And especially as there's a lot more people not having kids in today's age. It's like I feel as though that's something you can start to access when you have kids. I don't really know. I don't have kids. I don't plan to, but you start seeing the world through a kid's eyes again as an adult, and you recognize all these new and different things. So there can be this lost in translation area again if you decide not to. And then it's like, okay, how do I play? How do I have this childlike wonder again? And also, how do I have adult like wonder? I feel like we're so fixated on remembering the things in childhood that made us feel good. And in all honesty, it's like, I want to feel good as an adult. There's a different expansion to how I can feel playful as an adult. And that doesn't mean I don't want to go back to things that made me feel alive as a kid and look at them in a new light and all that. Like, I think that type of work and childhood, like inner healing is important. But nobody talks about like what about adult like wonder and play and like the sustainable force that keeps you going through all the decades of your adulthood. And so that is what this like little mini series is going to be about as a whole. And today I sort of wanted to talk a little bit more about why it is that we stop feeling alive. And I think there are two different sides of the pendulum to it. And I'll talk about the one that I don't resonate with first, and then I'll talk about the one that I've realized, like, kind of smack in the face, like, that I do and that I'm working through. And honestly, the whole reason I thought about potentially doing like mini series every week, because it locks me into this little theme. It allows me to lift up every little rock in within the theme, and it gives me context. And I wrote about that yesterday in yesterday's newsletter, the Treehouse Circle newsletter, which I'll link down below. And so like the 30-day challenge gave me a lot of context for things and how to talk about things I don't know. I go into it a little bit more in that article, but I wanted these series to give me kind of a landing point in context. But the reason I wanted to start this one with feeling alive is the whole notion that I feel like a lot of my topics and conversations, and this is the blind spot I'll talk about a little bit later, of the pendulum side that I'm on within this not feeling alive, but it has to do with like fixing yourself and always feeling like you kind of need to fix yourself in order to like be okay. And I didn't want to start this with other things to where it's just always going to give this tone of like, you can't feel these things until you fix yourself, because that's just not true. You can feel alive and whole and complete right now. You are alive and whole and complete. And so much of it is just accepting that you are still a whole and complete and alive person when you aren't at 100%. And that's the journey I've had to go through a lot. And I'm still going through, and I'm still really excited to jump into all of these topics this week, because there's still some things that I feel like I need to realize. But I feel like we'll start with the societal typical story that I feel like has been running, I don't know, the last 10-ish years, because I feel like 2016 was when I got out of high school and entered the real world. Even though your world is always real, I entered the adulthood world, and I feel like even then we were starting to sense this little like, you don't need a 9 to 5, like you don't like, you know, jobs are being created where it's not this 9 to 5 goal. I never had the goal to work a 9 to 5 or be in corporate or anything like that. That just literally never crossed my mind as a destination for myself, because I just was so nervous that I would lose my aliveness. And I think that was really, really strong. Whenever I turned 18, I was terrified of not feeling the spark of life that I felt then. And the reason I felt so sparky then was because I prioritized feeling that way a lot. I traveled, I worked to like I always had these goals. I and I would go after them. I didn't let anybody or anything kind of stop me. It was just like, oh, no one wants to travel Europe with me, I'll solo travel. No one wants to do that, like I'll just do it. I'll find people on the way, which I did. I found amazing friends to have those experiences with as I was traveling. And I just really had this core belief that everything was happening the way it should. It made me realize that whenever you are meeting strangers abroad and stuff, you actually get to be so much more of yourself, because it's potentially the first people you've met that literally have no context about you and your life and your childhood, how you grew up, how like they can project nothing on you but what you give them. So you almost get to reinvent yourself when you travel that long and that far away from your home. And that really showed me that, yeah, you can really continue to reinvent yourself and feel this aliveness through that almost. But obviously, a gap year traveling isn't a long sustainable thing to do if you're someone who obviously eventually wants to settle and have a town and have your dream house and have your dream group of friends. Like, your friends are going to start building contexts for you, and you could continue to burn the bridges every time you want to reinvent your personality and you don't know how to reintroduce yourself to somebody, or like navigate changing in front of someone else, or yeah, you just like continue traveling or move it. Like there's one or the other. But anyway, I lost my track a little bit. But so whenever about 10 years ago, it just seemed like there was more and more coming online that you didn't have to do this 9 to 5. And still, people go down the 9 to 5 route, and that feels really safe and secure for them. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's just, it seems like at some point you wake up and it feels like you've accidentally let the monotony of life take over. And you don't know how to get your spark back because you're still stuck in the same loop of your 9 to 5 job and your 2 weeks of vacation. And you realize that you've created this sense of security, potentially financially, and you've gotten the house and you've gotten the stuff, and what's happened? Like, where did you go? Why did you start like suppressing your energetic code to creativity and to feeling alive? So there's that pendulum of it, which I can see and understand, but I've just never personally felt. So I always kind of thought like, that's not my story to tell. That's not me. I've just never lost myself in a 9 to 5. So I just don't get it. But yeah, there have been times in my life that I've still felt that monotony in the same way, but it was tricking me because it looked a lot different. So this is the other side that I feel like I fall under. And I don't know, just really realizing this and understanding this has started to get some gears turning. But it's basically the pendulum of, you always have to be improving and fixing yourself and doing something better and optimizing yourself in order to feel or think that you might feel alive. Think that you might feel playful again. Think that, okay, when I get this, I'll feel this sense of relief or this euphoria. And getting all of the things that you want, being the go-getter, completely optimizing yourself, having all these dreams that you always have to keep like improving yourself to accomplish is actually not the way to go about it. And the thing is, it's like, okay, whenever I get this, whenever I get that, whenever I have this money, I will feel more alive. It's basically typically what it boils down to. Whenever I have money, I'll feel security. Whenever I have this different job, I'll value and have worth in myself again. Whenever I have this dream house, I can finally feel peace. Whenever I get this, that. And like, I am always giving myself new things so that there's this energy of constantly improving myself. And it looks really good. Like, it looks fine. Like, it looks like meeting people that aren't in that mindset and being like, why don't you constantly think about like what you could be doing better? How do you just find simplistic joy? How do you like let not doing something feel okay? And that's where you lose your aliveness in this pendulum, is that you are cutting yourself off at basically the neck. You're separating your head from your body and your felt and lived experience. You're not allowing yourself to feel in your own life. You're only thinking about your life a lot. You're at the command center of your life and you're like, we can go anywhere and everywhere and we can rule not only this world, but all worlds. We can go anywhere. We can do anything. And you really, truly, deeply believe that, but you've cut your thinking in that away from how your body actually feels. So what happens is the throat gets really confused. So you can either think things and say them, and you'll be saying them and your body will be like, what the fuck? I've never felt that way. Like, that's so logical and nice, and I really do want to feel that way, but yeah, like, I don't feel safe whenever I don't have money. And I understand that you're saying that. And logically, it sounds like, yeah, I don't want my sense of security to come from money. I don't want my love and acceptance to come from the outside world. I want it to come from within. And yeah, I don't want to only feel peace and all this whenever I have my drink. Like, yeah, I get it. But I don't feel that. Somatically, I don't feel that. Or this is again where the throat comes in and is confused because it's where the severing has happened. You feel anxious in your body, you feel a sense of worry, or you feel happiness, or you feel like you feel a strong emotion that you want to express, and you start speaking from your body, and then your brain is like, wait, I we aren't allowed to feel happy yet. We aren't, like, I've thought of this through, and this isn't exactly the route to this, and this isn't. And so everything you're saying, whether you're saying it from the body or the head, because it's severed, one part is confused, and you are the mind is part of the body, and the body operates only because the mind works. So that severing and that overly thinking and that overly fixing tends to make you not feel alive because it separates you from your body, and conjoining the two kind of feels impossible a little bit. Like, you're like, how does someone do that? How does someone just not think? How does someone just enjoy their day? And so I feel like those are the two sides of the spectrum when it comes to, like, do you feel alive? It's either that you've created this stability, you've created this 9 to 5, you've gotten all these things, you've checked all these boxes, and you've forgotten how to find that spark in every moment and every day. Or you're constantly looking for the spark and trying to fix yourself into the spark, and that only signals that you don't have it already, and that you need to become a better version of yourself to access it. And you still fear, there's still this clench of like, if I stop improving myself, what happens? Like, do I stop pursuing my goals? Do I stop pursuing all these things? Like, and that still feels really scary for you to not be improving. And that's sort of the signal that you still have well, it's funny, you still have a little bit of work to do. I don't want to say that because that's literally what you have to stop doing. It's more so that you have a little bit of energy to release around the idea that you have to do work to feel whole. Okay. And those are the two sides of the spectrum of why it could be that you don't feel alive. I'm going to check my notes because I wrote them, which I literally never do, but I don't know if I said this earlier, but I liked this analogy of, like, basically, and I'll talk about this a little bit more when I go into my responsibility episode. Like, you are responsible for creating your aliveness, basically. But it's almost like, as adults, we are constantly trying to create the playground for ourselves and literally never playing in it. Like, we're constantly like, oh, we've got to get this house, we've got to get this thing, we've got to like get this thing to feel good, and like get this toy to have, like get this video game, get this next thing, and then we never allow ourselves to actually just go play on the playground that we've spent the last like 7 weekends in the summer building for ourselves. Or we get the thing and we like have hella escapism within it and just like use it to veg out, and that's also not feeling alive. Like, that's numbing, a feeling that we aren't facing or accepting. Um, so it'd just be like building the playground and then mechanically and robotically going down the slide like 75 times until you realize you're playing again and you're hungry and you need to eat. Like that's what I feel like we can do with, video games and other toys and hyperfixations and stuff of like, oh, this is good. I'm like doing something, but really you're not using it to feel alive still. So you're not using it to actually play. You're using it to forget for a little bit. And that's different than using your toy to feel alive. Um, doo, doo, doo. Yeah, I pretty much said everything otherwise that I wrote. Another thing is that, so I feel like some people who weren't provided that safety to play as a child, that could also go either way. Like you could be like, oh, I'm finally an adult and I can finally like provide myself the space to play. Or I'm finally an adult and I'm still treating myself as poorly as the adults who didn't provide me safety did. And I don't know how to how to get out of that. So that could kind of go in either way. But yeah. So basically the reason I wanted to start my little, I'm going to do maybe a little series each week, with this is, again, because I really want to get under this feeling of like, why do you perpetually feel as though you need to fix yourself? And I feel like that's so important because I have just done this 30-day challenge with a lot of topics surrounding fixing yourself and timeline jumps and creating your reality and creating your dream life. And I feel like it is really hard for me to understand that I'm like currently living it. And I can access it sometimes, but it's definitely not a high enough percentage of my life that I feel comfortable in. I want it to be as close to 100% that I feel whole and complete. And it's also interesting because my Chiron is in my 4th house, which I just listened to an astrology episode kind of about that, and like that being one of your biggest wounds, and like something where basically you have to keep telling yourself a different story until it's healed. Like it's just a repeated story that you've walked into this lifetime knowing about yourself, or like wounded with yourself. And really the, I guess, healing of that wound is rewriting the story and continuing to prove to yourself that that story isn't true. And so mine being in the 4th house is literally exactly what I just said, is like this constant idea that you have to fix yourself. And yeah, I just want to rewrite that story. And I feel like exploring this topic this week will help me begin to start rewriting that story and really get into a place where everything that I like to think about and talk about, and these like more self-optimization and all this stuff, where they can start to feel just like casual perspective shifts and like interesting topics, but not like, okay, you have to master this to be okay. You have, like, the next thing is like the thing that's going to fix you. I've actually started doing that with books and podcasts and things. Like, if I start to listen to something and I can see myself light up a little bit and like be like, oh, this will fix everything. This like this one statement, this one book, this one idea that, yeah, this is going to help me with marketing or creativity or like the thing that I'm missing in my life. Like it's going to be the missing puzzle piece. As soon as I feel that way about something, I've been catching myself of like, I already know all of this information. Maybe books and podcasts and videos like this and everything, yeah, it can help you remember, of course, and there's nothing wrong with it, but you have to listen to them knowing that you already have everything within you and you are the power. And there's nothing that these books and videos and podcasts and people out there are going to give you that you and your own intuition and body can't give yourself. And whenever you listen to things knowing that, and you're able to have a lot more discernment of like, I don't really resonate with that thing that this person said. I don't really, yeah, like XYZ. Like that's okay to not resonate or to think about it in a different way. And especially if you're someone like me who has a lot of mutable chart in their charts, like heavy mutable signs. Um, I'm talking astrology just because I am really curious. I just listened to a big astrology episode. I feel like I'm always learning about astrology and it's really fascinating. And I just find a really good landing point with context around it. But anyway, I have a lot of mutable signs, which is great and fun. And I think is great and fun, makes me the creative I am, makes me the pivoter I am, and I'm not afraid to change my mind, to do like all that stuff. It's been really powerful for me to finish things like the 30-day challenge and all that. But anyway, it can also make you bleed into other people's thoughts a lot. So as soon as you do see like this one trick will help you, like it can be like, oh, will it help me? So it's really helpful for me specifically to be like, I already know all this information. Like I'm entering every one of these spaces with a clear sense of my own power, and these are just nice to listen to and a cool experience, especially if I love the person's energy. But they're not like the end all be all or like this groundbreaking energy of will fix me. So keep that in mind as I go through these series. And yeah, I'm basically planning this week to talk a bit deeper into all of those topics. A few other things that I feel like I could talk about. So, what do we have? We have responsibility to feeling alive. That's going to be a whole episode. I kind of want to talk about how time changes when you feel more alive, because it's basically just how time changes when you feel more present. And I guess I could also just talk about how aliveness is just presence, like within that. And I probably won't end up doing a whole episode on like the 9 to 5 feeling, like how to get out of that mundanity, just because I can't speak from that experience. But I'll definitely touch on it within the episode of like from my experience, the pendulum of feeling like you always have to fix yourself energy. So I'll definitely talk about it. But again, it's not my experience, but I can observe it and have observed it within people. And I have observed people who feel really alive with a 9 to 5 and what's their secret sauce, you know? So yeah, that is what I am doing this week. And I'm excited to try a series. I've never done a little series before, so I'm excited to explore that and see how that helps me with like having this landing point. And then also, I have spots open for June for the customized 30-day challenge. You can work with me for creativity or feeling alive. Oh, I forgot that the camera only goes to 30 minutes and it automatically shuts off. I don't know where it cut off, but I have spots open for June for the 30-day challenge. It's basically where I customize a creative challenge for you that blows up your visibility to yourself, and it probably will involve social media. If you're a YouTuber, it definitely will involve YouTube, because that's kind of what pushes you. But obviously, we're going to create it for you together. So we can kind of see where you need to land, but I am still going to challenge you. But then I'm going to support you throughout that entire challenge with daily voice notes and pep talks, and we can talk back and forth. It also includes 3 like 60-minute calls. So the first initial one to create the challenge, a midway one that, like, if you're feeling the midway like lull or like, oh, this is so challenging, hopefully that can give you this spark and burst halfway through the challenge. That was where I found I had the hardest time, and no accountability partner, and then we will have a post-op call at the very end, to sort of just reflect and see what's next, because I also felt very lost with what was after my 30-day challenge, and now I'm starting to feel like I don't feel as aimless about my intentions anymore, which is really exciting. And then if you don't want to commit to all that and you just want to talk YouTube and you just want to talk how YouTube, can help you find your voice and not feel so cut off at the throat, and like merging your truth with your body, with your mind, and sort of also still help you with that visibility, I have just a one-off YouTube call that you can book and ask me anything YouTube related. So that's how you can work with me. I'm excited for this series. Let me know down below in the comments if you relate to any of these feelings around aliveness, and then also if you have any anchor points for the conversational topics for this week of feeling alive, that you want kind of spoke on, because I will definitely try to speak on them. Spoke on. Is spoke the past tense or future tense? I don't know. Anyway, if you want me to talk about them, like a point around feeling alive, let me know in the comments, and I will try to put that together throughout this week. So I will see you in the next video, and I hope you all have a beautiful rest of your day. Bye, guys.